Hey, hey, hey! Happy Monday, everybody. Woo! Happy Monday. Glad that you're watching today. If you're watching or listening, whether you're watching, listening live, or you're catching it on a recorded version, whether it's YouTube, Facebook, X, Rumble. Thank you so much. If you're listening on Spotify or Apple, thank you so much. Good to have you guys here today. And I'll take a few minutes as the chat room starts to fill up, and we'll say good morning to some folks. Hope you had a good weekend. We had a tremendously good weekend. Hope you had a good Thanksgiving. We had a great Thanksgiving. It was just the family. So I think a total of 8 of us, which was nice. I did my job, which was cook the turkey, and I do say it came out exceptionally well. If you say so myself. And it was just good. It was good. We put up the Christmas tree, which is our tradition, and our daughter was home, and so she participated in that. It was wonderful. And then really good services at New Life Church yesterday. 2 full services. Attendance was great. People really responded to the teaching, and it was just a great. I had a friend come down from New Hampshire. Can you believe that? Somebody drove all the way from New Hampshire just to come to church. It was wonderful. So it was a super weekend, good weekend, and I'm feeling better. I was just telling At I'm still feeling a little congested. This is now 2 weeks. This has been going on, but no, this is the start of week 3, and my voice is getting stronger a little bit each day, but I still have this congestion. So I'm wondering if could I have a sinus infection that long? Is that even possible? I didn't think anything could last for that long except cancer. Is there such thing as sinus cancer? Maybe that's the problem. I don't know. Anyway, let's do our 911 call to God for help, and then we'll tackle the show today. Got a good show for you today, so let's pray. Heavenly Father, God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, thank you. Thank you for another glorious day of life, a day that we woke up on our own power. We didn't need any external means to jumpstart us, but we're awake, we're alive, we're moving about, we're doing the stuff we need to do, want to do, love to do. Thank you. Thank you, especially as we come off of Thanksgiving. What a great time to be able to focus our thoughts on you and be thankful for all that you've done in our lives. And you have, God, you've been so gracious and so kind and merciful and patient with us. And of course, your forgiveness ultimately so important because it gives us a second chance and gives us a home in heaven with you forever. And we're grateful for that, and grateful that we live in a country that's free. We could have this program on today and thousands more like it. And we can have church services and operate in freedom and teach your word and not be afraid of persecution or prosecution. And so we're just grateful, God, grateful for friends, family. Thank you, God, for the freedom that we have in this great country. And we thank you for all the men and women in the military, especially the holiday time when they're separated from their families. Keep them safe, protect them, bless them, comfort their families, all of our veterans who've served. Thank you, God, for them. All of our first responders, so important. Firefighters. It's every community in the country there were firefighters sleeping at the firehouse Thanksgiving night. So they have to be separated from their families as well. And law enforcement is so important. Local, regional, state, federal. Bless and protect them. Keep them safe. Border Patrol. Boy, help them gear up for what will be an extremely busy next few years for particularly ICE, and protect them as well. Thank you, God, for our audience. And I was thanking you Thursday for our audience. It's good that folks tune in. I'm honored that they watch, they care, they listen, they're engaged. Bless them. Comfort those that are suffering from grief or loss of loved ones, particularly this time of year. People that are struggling with health issues, bring healing. People that are struggling with maybe some division in their home. Maybe Thanksgiving didn't go as well as it did for others. So bless them with reconciliation and peace on the home front, and anyone struggling financially with resource. And thank you again. Thanks for all of your blessing. Thanks for all the help we get with AT and LJ and DA and Gigi. We'll have Gigi back in a few weeks. That's going to be wonderful. And thank you, God, for help us today. And bless our audience again. We thank you and praise you in Jesus' name. Amen. I love praying for you guys. I'm so grateful that so many days a week I get to pray for you, and it's an honor. It's an honor, and it's an exciting time, and um, I'm glad. I'm glad. Hey, good show, Worried. A lot's going on. I got a stack of research here to go through with you. Um, LJ research, and then Steve Bucci at 9:45. Big Army Navy game coming up next week. Oh baby, that's a that's a grudge match for military Army Navy. I don't know who's winning that one, but I think probably Army's ahead. But you might have heard this yesterday afternoon. Late yesterday, it came through. I got a Newsmax alert on my phone yesterday. I don't know what time. Thank you, AT. And this is fully expected. And I'm going to say something that's probably going to be shocking to some of you. But let me just turn my ringer off in case Trump or somebody tries calling me. I haven't ruled out any positions if he were to offer them to me, but I think my chances are dwindling. All the spots are getting filled. No more empty chairs. Anyway, okay, so let me just do this here. Okay. All right. So we get this from yesterday, and the LJ gave me the transcript with the official document attached. Joe Biden announces a full and unconditional pardon for Hunter. This is from Joe Biden. Today, I signed pardon for my son Hunter. From the day I took office, I said I would not interfere with the Justice Department's decision making. I've kept my word, even as I've watched my son being selectively and unfairly prosecuted. Are you stinking kidding me? Without aggravating factors like use of a crime, multiple purchases, or buying a weapon as a straw purchaser, people are almost never brought the child on felony charges solely for how they filled out a gun form. That's not all it was, Joe. Um, those are paying their taxes late because of serious addictions, but pay them back subsequently with interest and penalties. They're typically given non-criminal resolutions. It was clear that Hunter was treated differently. No reasonable, I'm going to skip ahead here. No reasonable person looks at the facts of Hunter's case can reach any other conclusion that Hunter was singled out, not only because he was my son, and that is wrong. There's been an effort to break Hunter, who has been 5.5 years sober, even in the face of unrelenting attacks and selective prosecution. Well, you're the king of selective prosecution, President Biden. In trying to break Hunter, they've tried to break me. No reason to believe they'll stop there. Enough is enough. For my entire career, I followed one simple principle: just tell the American people the truth. You got to be kidding me. He didn't write this. They'll be fair-minded. Here's the truth. I believe in the justice system, but as I have wrestled with this, I also believe raw politics has infected the process that you help usher in, Joe, and led to the miscarriage of justice. Once I made this decision this weekend, I had no sense of delaying any further. I hope Americans understand why a father and a president would come to this decision. So he pardons him. He's completely pardoned. Now, what you're hearing is that this pardon is designed to protect Hunter from Trump, which is baloney. He's already been indicted. He's just waiting for sentence. So there is nothing else to do. A court under DOJ under Joe Biden's reign prosecuted, convicted. It's done. So here's the truth of this. Right? It's not to protect Hunter from Trump. It's to protect Joe from Trump. Because now that this is done, the charges that are related to Hunter, and there's more than just gun charges, cannot now be used against or opened up against Joe. So we will look at all the foreign money that the Biden crime cartel has taken over the years from foreign countries. A lot of that's off the table now and not available. This has nothing to, I mean, now let me say what I was going to surprise you with, okay? If I found myself in the same position, let me define the position. I'm a person of power, governor, president. I haven't had the disastrous time that Biden has had. And my son was in trouble. I probably would do the same thing. I probably would pardon my son because that's what dads do. They help their kids. And some would say that's not helping him because he has to realize there's consequences. Listen, Hunter's whatever how old he is, if he hasn't learned that lesson yet, and at this point now, he's going to have to stay absolutely squeaky clean because otherwise there'll be no forgiving him for future different crimes. But I probably would have done it myself. I don't think anyone's surprised. There was talk, and I think this would have been better. There was talk of Trump pardoning Hunter. I don't know how I feel about that. I mean, part of me says, yeah, that's a good olive branch, but why toss an olive branch out when they threw everything, including the kitchen sink, at Trump wrongly, right? So I don't know if that's even a I don't even know if that's even an equal thought process, a trade process that Trump would pardon Hunter. Let me say good morning to a lot of folks out there. Good morning. Let me go right to the top here. Hey, Luke. Good morning. Elaine. Good morning. Dennis. Good morning. Uh, Da. Good morning. Caitlin. Good morning. Judy P. Greg P. Good morning. Izzy. How you doing, brother? Lori. Lori L's here. Good. Okay. Mariette L's here. Good morning, Dennis. Good morning. Donna T's here. Hey, all right, Melody. Good morning. Tom L. Good morning. Let's see. Barbara. Good morning. Eric. Good morning. Nice to see you at church yesterday. Mark. Of course. Good morning, Mark. Let's see. Who is that? Al. Oh, Al. Okay. Good morning, Al and Priscilla and everybody. Yeah. Good morning. Thank you so much, Terry. Good morning. Carol. Good morning. And Dorothy and uh, what happened? Did I what? Did I carve it? Did I carve the turkey? Of course, yes. You don't just cook it and walk away. You cook and carve. It's the CC. Uh, Doreen, good morning. Yeah, it's good to see everybody. Jill, LG, good morning. Good morning, Lawrence. Good morning. Gigi's here. Amen. Good. Oh, thank you. Thank you so much, guys. So I don't know. What do you think about that? Do you think is anyone first question of the day for the chat room? Is anyone surprised that this pardon has taken place? You shouldn't be. You shouldn't be. I mean, this is a no brainer. Of course, he's going to pardon Hunter. Um, do you think it would have been better if Trump pardoned Hunter? And if you had a son and you were president, would you pardon him yourself? So, are you surprised? Would it have been better if Trump did it? Or would you do it yourself? That's what I'm looking for. The collection of those questions and your answers would be wonderful. Still drinking tea with honey. It is somewhat soothing, when your voice is a little raspy as it is. But I got through both services yesterday. Although I don't know if you caught this, At, about a third of the way through the second service, it started giving out a little bit. I had to take a moment. I was worried. I was, oh, this is bad, and then it was fine, and I finished out the service. But it was quite interesting. So Trump continues. Trump continues to make selections. Now, let me tell you how you know if it's a good selection. You can tell if it's a good selection by Trump if the left loses their minds. Listen, if they're all like this concerns me. This concerns me. There was not a whole lot of negative outcry about Pam Bondi as Attorney General. Now I like her. I like her. But now it could have been a Harris Biden thing. Biden's completely unconscious, can't be president. They wheel Harris out there after the coup. And of course, good morning, Eggles. Good morning. They wheel him out of there. Um, Is Patricia with you, Eggles? I can't see that far. Florida, I can't see that far. She is. Okay. Hi, Patricia. Um, they wheel Harris out, and Harris goes from the worst rated VP in history to the darling of the left. Why? Because it was a relief. It was a relief that they weren't going to have to put up with Joe as president, and at least Harris could walk and talk at the same time, barely. So that might have been what happened with Pam Bondi because there was such fear. There was a good amount of fear and trepidation about Gates because a lot of Republicans said they weren't going to vote for him. Senator, when they got Pam Bondi, oh gosh, okay, that's done. I still think that was a setup. I think Trump set Gates up knowing that it would cause an outcry. He'll put Gates somewhere else, and then everybody else has an easier run of it because why? Because Gates was the big problem. Gates was the lightning rod. And once that was out of the way, I don't know. That's just my opinion. So that could be the case here. Um, there's less angst with Pam Bondi than Gates. But generally speaking, if Trump makes a nominee, makes a nomination, and people go crazy, it's a great one. So I can't tell you how happy I am. And I was pulling for this guy. This was my pick. If you said, who would you want to lead the FBI? First of all, Christopher Wray, oh, I'm not leaving my term early. Yeah, you are. You're going to get the Trump, you're fired, get out of here. That's what you're going to get from Trump. So I was, he's gone. And yes, I know Trump appointed him, but he wasn't a good FBI director. I mean, better than Comey, I don't know, marginally maybe, but he had his own problems. And during Ray's term, you had the persecution of Catholic churches. You had people being violated for the J6 people that did nothing, completely nonviolent, harmless people got persecuted, broken into their houses, walked out in handcuffs. That was all under Ray's reign of terror. And of course, ultimately, the Attorney General, Merrick Garland. So Trump picks Kash Patel to serve as the next FBI director. And he's a brilliant lawyer, investigator, and American first fighter. Now, the only thing I would say in a negative, not even a negative, but just a kind of a cautionary thought. I've always thought it good to promote from within if you can. But maybe you can't. Maybe the FBI is so upside down. Not rank and file. Listen, the agents. I have no fear or concern about the agents at all. It's leadership. The leadership is rotten. DOJ is rotten from the head down with Merrick Garland. FBI is rotten in leadership. So maybe there just wasn't a person in the FBI that you could have promoted. I don't know that, but Trump also highlighted Patel's service during the first administration. His time as chief of staff of the Department of Defense. Listen, the DOD is gigundous. Probably the biggest. I'll ask Steve Bucci about this, but probably the biggest department of anything in government is the Defense Department. And he was chief of staff. That's a heady position right there. He's also senior director for counterterrorism at the National Security. This is not a lightweight guy. In response to the nomination, Patel said it's the honor of a lifetime to be nominated by President Trump to serve as director of the FBI. Together, we will restore integrity, accountability, equal justice to our system, return the FBI to its rightful mission, protecting the American people. A lot of what Patel's already talked about this is cleaning out the deep state attitude in the FBI and cutting back on their intelligence gathering of what they're gathering intelligence on. And so that's good. But I'm thrilled about this pick. I think it's under Ray's leadership, the search warrant to go after the documents at Mar-a-Lago, that case has been dropped. That all happened. Running bias against Catholics, that Catholics were breeding grounds for terrorism. How about parents who went to board meetings and were vocal and they were considered terrorists? That was all under Christopher Wray's leadership. So it's time to clean him out. And I would bet rank and file FBI folks are cheering the fact that Wray's going to be out and Patel's coming in. And I think it's going to be a real breath of fresh air for the Federal Bureau of Investigation, and I think the country needs a break from what's been going on. They'll probably be at my door this afternoon. Trump nominates Florida Sheriff Chad Chronister to lead the DEA. 32 years, Sheriff Chad Chronister has served the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office. Countless commendations. And he wrote this announcement moments before he nominated Kash Patel as FBI director. Proud graduate FBI Academy. Chad is co-chairman of the Regional Domestic Security Task Force in Tampa Bay. Council member, Florida Attorney General, statewide council on human trafficking. Chairman of the Criminal Justice Subcommittee. Vice chair of the Hillsborough County Public Safety. I mean, Florida is a gigantic state. If you know how to manage Florida, you're in good shape legally. So, Chad is married, has 2 sons. His wife, Nikki, deeply humbled to serve the nation, he added. Trump said that Chronister would work with Pam Bondi, his nominee for Attorney General. Of course, they're both from Florida, so that's good. He was appointed by then Governor Rick Scott, now Senator Rick Scott, in 2017. He's been reelected twice. So these are just good picks. Now, that's not going to get a lot of, I don't think that pick's going to get a lot of flack at all, if any. And I don't think it's not Senate required approval for the DEA director. So that one's in the bank. Let's see. I'm going to ask a question before the 9:30 break, and I want you to respond. I need you to be really candid about this, how you feel about it. It might be a big change, and we're just considering it now. We're not announcing anything. I just want to get a sense of where you're at with it for a lot of reasons. So you heard that Harris raised over $1.5 billion for her campaign, and I think it's important to recognize that the money that came in, I'm not convinced was so much to support Harris as it was against Trump. I don't know what percentage, and we'll never know for sure, but she ended up the campaign $20 million in debt. So now here we are, 3.5 weeks out of the election. This is coming from hotair.com. She's still trying to raise money. Even a quick donation of $50 is enough to help keep us in this fight. One email said 2 weeks after. What fight are you in, Kamala? The fight against reality versus fantasy? What fight are you in? I don't understand it. You're not in a fight anymore. You're out. You're out of the fight. The American people said, you're fired. Get out of here. You're out. Hillary Clinton. Oh, this is rich. Top four leading Democrats for the 2028 nomination. Ready? Hillary. Tim Walz. Harris. And Gavin Newsom. Unbelievable. They haven't learned a thing. They haven't learned a thing of why people overwhelmingly put Trump into office, even with the headwinds. See, you don't understand. I know he only won by 2 million, but because of what he was facing, 2 million might as well be 20 million. Because the entire media was against Trump, the deep state's against Trump, high tech's against Trump, at least social media for the most part, other than Elon Musk. You had all these people against Trump, plus all the Democrat Party's against Trump, and with all of that, with all of the legal attacks on Trump, the false legal attacks on Trump, he still wins the popular vote in the Electoral College handily. So, it's crazy. But anyway, Hillary's campaign was in debt in 2008, ended with $25 million in debt, some of which are personal loans. And it wasn't paid off fully until 2013. Barack's 2012 campaign was $6.8 million in debt, not fully retired until 2018. So, I mean, it's not unprecedented. But when you get $1.5 billion and you still run $20 million in debt, I mean, that's hard to imagine. Oh boy, I tell you, crazy. All right, I want to ask you a question. I've got a few more things I want to share um, before we have Steve Bucci on. But I want to ask you this question. I want you to really consider it, and then I want you to comment. During the break, after the break, however you want to do it is fine. Because I mentioned this to you last week. We're really looking at some format changes in the show. I'm grateful. Don't get me wrong. I'm grateful for the audience that we have. I'm grateful for all of you. It's just not growing in the numbers that we had hoped. And I'm a very pragmatic person when it comes to results. I don't want to do anything if it's not having the results that I think it should have. Not to dismiss or devalue any of you who have been so faithful, so engaged in watching and consistent. And I appreciate that so much. But we want to make some changes in format. And one of the things we're wondering is would more people be able to watch the program, listen to the program if in a live fashion if we had it at a different time? And the time we're considering is 4 p.m. 4 p.m. is a good it's a good time for like radio for PM driving home. If we can find, I don't know, At, there's a format that you can have it on your phone and not you can turn your screen off and still have your phone work, right? We figured that out. I don't know which one it was, but we'll figure that out. Maybe we'll have to get an app and use it like just like Odyssey has an app. Um, so if you want to listen on your drive home, you can. And that's where I started. I started in PM Drive. I started in Media 3 to 6 with John Rollins. So that I was on 3 to 6 more than anything um, over the last 13 or 14 years. The morning slot became available, 4 years ago, and so I've been on then. So I'm just thinking about a change, and we're thinking about a 4 p.m. start. So my question to you is, this is what I want you to think about, and give me some response. I'm looking for some real response here in the chat room. Uh, does 4 p.m. work for you? Would you be able to listen at 4 p.m.? And do you think others it'd be more if you invited others to join you at 4 p.m.? Do you think it'd be better for them? And then, of course, you can always do the same thing. It's always going to be on YouTube, Facebook. It's always going to be on Spotify. It's always going to be on Apple later. You can always watch it or listen to it as a recorded piece. But as far as the live, where we come out live, um, does 4 o'clock work? And do you think other of your friends it might work better for them if you asked them to listen or join in watching the show 4 o'clock? So that's the question. We're gonna take a 3 minute break. Next week we'll be back to we're gonna go to a 5 minute break as I mentioned last week. And give me some feedback. We're not gonna decide this today, but I want to decide it, fairly soon. So uh, give us some answers. 3 minutes. We'll be back. Stay with us. All right, welcome back. Welcome back. Here we are, 9:34. So let me just tell you a little bit about there's many reasons we're thinking about the 4 o'clock thing because um, one is because I think it's a more for most people. I think it's an easier time. You can catch us in your car if you're commuting at 4 o'clock. Um, it's also better for me just for my day job for church because I want to spend more time with the staff earlier in the day as opposed to later in the day. And believe it or not, 9 o'clock for me, I'm already halfway through my day. I get up at 5. So it just would make it, I think it would make it easier for us to do it. And I think there's a potential of growing the audience because of the 4 o'clock slot. Um, so that's what we're thinking about. And I know it doesn't work for everybody, but again, it's always available, recorded on YouTube, Facebook, X, Rumble. It's always listenable on Spotify and on Apple. So it's not you wouldn't be have access to it if you wanted to. You could still have access to it. You could watch yesterday's show at 9 o'clock in the morning if you wanted to, right? It would work out. But anyway, that's what we're thinking about doing. But again, we haven't made a decision. Just trying to explore possibilities right now. Um, let's see. Already, this is from hotair.com. It might be a little provocative. I don't know if I could agree with this. The world is healing. It says Trump is already negotiating peace, tariffs, and immigration deals. For all intents and purposes, it says that Trump is already acting as president of the United States. And it's true. He is. He is. Biden wasn't anyway, couldn't, not able to. Barring Biden handing over nuclear weapons to Ukraine, and yes, the administration has been discussing the possibility of that transitioning from one administration to the next has already happened in the eyes of the world. And it's true. Everybody knows Trump's in charge. So common sense is emerging in the golden age, it seems. And Trump has been talking to world leaders, makes us feel like something is working. Latest examples of negotiation with the president of Mexico and Justin Trudeau's trip to Mar-a-Lago last week. Scheinbaum, who's the Claudia Scheinbaum from Mexico, already bending the knee. It says Trudeau presumably doing the same. Um, and again, the tariffs. People misunderstand tariffs, and I look at comments and stuff, and I can tell if Democrats, if someone says like if I post something on X, and I see a comment, and it's like tariffs are going to hurt the economy, tariffs are going to raise prices for they're all Democrats that are doing it because they don't understand tariffs. The whole purpose of tariffs and why Trump is looking at tariffs is not the way our country was in the 1800s before we had income tax, when all of our revenue came from tariffs, like many countries. But the reason Trump is talking about tariffs now is negotiation, leverage, pressuring tools to get jobs back into the United States. He's done it before. He'll do it again to get made in America elevated to a higher level. And so he wants to force companies to either make their product here. Toyota trucks, classic example. Back in the 70s, Toyota was making all these little pickups. Remember the Toyota trucks originally? They were rust buckets. The fenders would rust off. The tail bed, the back, the box would rot out in about the first 2 years, and they'd be flapping in the wind. There's so much rust. So Toyota was building trucks, right? And I think it might have been Johnson. No, who was it? What president? Maybe I forget who it was. But they said if you're going to try importing all these trucks to the United States, we're going to charge you some crazy tariff at the time. It was insane. So what did Toyota do? They started making in the United States. Guess what? U.S. jobs. That's the purpose of tariffs. The purpose of tariffs isn't just to make the prices go up for the sake of making prices go up. Tariffs are leverage tools, are negotiation tools. And sometimes you just have to do a tariff. There's no other choice. But that's what Trump is looking at. And that's why people are, oh, tariffs are horrible. No, it's because you don't understand tariffs. You don't understand what the purpose of tariffs are. And you're just saying what the talking points are for all the other Democrats, which is pretty common. Yeah, so Trump's already working with world leaders. Now, This is from the New York Times, and it's reported by Ed Morrissey, founder of HotAir.com. Ed says, I'll believe it when I see it. Not the situation doesn't call for rational changes in tactics, but it's looking like Hamas itself wants out of the whole problem. They want a deal. They're done. And I say, okay, really? Okay, we'll release the hostages. When you release every one of the hostages that still is alive, then we can talk about stopping hostilities. We're not seeing it, though. We're not seeing it yet. In a statement on Wednesday, Hamas praised Hezbollah and said it was committed to efforts to achieve a ceasefire in Gaza based on the parameters that it had agreed to previously. Hamas said those parameters include a ceasefire, Israel's withdrawal, return of displaced people to Gaza, and exchange of Palestinian prisoners for hostage. No, we're not exchanging anybody. You're going to release the hostages that you took on October 7th. No question, no underlying release the Palestinians. No, it's not how this is going to work. So, I don't trust anybody in Hamas. They're all liars and thieves and cheats and murderers. I don't trust anybody. But the fact that they're leaking this out, that they want a deal, is not a bad thing. They won't, and they want it now before Trump is in. You can believe that. They don't want to wait for Trump. They'd rather get Sleepy Joe on the case and get him to help usher this thing through. Big change, oh my gosh, in the automotive world. It was announced Sunday. Stellantis CEO Carlos Tavares stepping down after 4 years as the CEO. The brands that are under the Stellantis umbrella are Jeep, Citroen, Ram, also Fiat, Peugeot, Maserati, and Opel. It's a big company. They in the third quarter, Stellantis posted a 27% plunge in profits, and they're way down. They're way down, and so I guess hey, I give them credit. Tavares is stepping down. The chairman of the board is becoming the temporary CEO, John Elkann, and they're already underway for a new CEO for the giant automotive company Stellantis. Reaction from United Auto Workers, Sean Fain, the president, calling this a major step in the right direction for a company that has been mismanaged and a workforce that has been mistreated for far too long. Ooh. Tavares is leaving behind a mess of painful layoffs, overpriced vehicles sitting on dealership lots. Dealers are dying. They can't sell cars. Isn't it amazing the difference 4 years makes, AT? When you had COVID, dealers couldn't steal cars. There were just no cars because they had no parts. They're waiting for chips, waiting for this. And so lots were empty. You drive by lots and go, there's nothing there but used cars. And now with the interest rates up, COVID being over, supply chain issues being done, dealers are now having to floor plan cars 100, 120, 140 days. The cars aren't selling. They're packed with cars. It's crazy. Crazy. So anyway, that's a change at Stellantis for a lot of manufacturers that they have under their umbrella. And the last thing I just want to go before we bring in Steve Bucci. This is from Emerson, a new poll. And Trump's favorability rating has jumped again. Now, remember, Trump had at one point in time during the election, Trump had a equally low favorability rating to Joe Biden, and in the 36%. Trump is now up, hasn't even taken office yet. Trump's favorability rating is up to 54%. Now, you can say it's a cult. You can say it's people that don't understand politics, but that's a gigantic jump, humongous jump. So people understand. Men, of course, view Trump more favorably. Trump's favorability among men, 61%. But this isn't bad. Among women, 58% or 48%. White voters see Trump favorably, 59%, along with, are you ready for this? Pull your car over. 53% of Hispanic voters. He dominated. He dominated with Latinos in that way. and not so much with blacks, only 28% of blacks. There's a long road there. Don't forget, they've been brainwashed by the Democrats for hundreds of years. And it's going to take a long time. But I think 4 positive years of Trump. Remember when Trump was president last time, was the lowest unemployment rating among Black Americans in history. You pull that off again, and you're going to see that number climb and climb and climb. So it's pretty amazing that this is all happening. Emerson includes some interesting data about um, the election. 2/3 of Kamala Harris voters were surprised by the results. Now, why is that? Why is it that people that voted for Kamala Harris were so shocked and surprised that she lost? Maybe it's because of the legacy media pushing the lie out all the time. Harris is ahead. Harris is ahead. I read something last week from Harris, somebody on Harris's team. They knew the whole time from internal polling that Harris was behind. This report said there was never one moment during the election in their internal polls that Harris was ahead of Trump. But that's not what you heard on ABC, NBC, CBS, MSNBC, CNN. You heard, oh, Harris is ahead and Harris is going to win. So, of course, the voters would be surprised because that's all they're watching is MSNBC that's bankrupt now and CNN. And they lied. They lied the whole time. Wow. New CBS poll found 59% of Americans approve of how Trump is handling the transition. And by the way, Trump is handling the transition with private money. He's not even doing it with government money. How beautiful is that? Joining us now, a true patriot, served his country tremendously for 30 years, 28 years Special Forces, Pentagon. He's a West Point graduate, Army, Navy, go Army. He's a War College graduate, a longtime supporter of the show, and a good friend of mine. I want to welcome from the Heritage Foundation, Steve Bucci. Steve, welcome back.
Oh, it's great to be back on the show, Pastor, and go Army.
That game is next weekend, right?
It is.
How big of that is it? How big of a deal is that? Now that's between the two academies, right? That's between West
Correct.
Point and Annapolis. How much in terms of bragging rights is that game like important to you guys?
Oh, it depends on who you're with. If you're with your people in your year groups, you do it. If I made some young Naval Academy grad, I'm not going to rag on them that we're rated a lot higher than them this year. Hey, look, we went for a long time where Navy was kicking our butts
Yeah.
over and over and over again.
Yeah.
This is pretty nice so far here of late.
That's good. That's good. Well, listen, there's some interesting things in the news here, and let me ask you. So far, how do you rate the transition between the Trump and Biden administration? How do you think President Trump's doing right now?
I I think President Trump is doing wonderfully. Again, remember we had the example of his last administration. He made a bunch of promises during the campaign of things he was going to do. This is the 16 election I'm talking about.
Right.
And
Right.
son of a gun, if he didn't accomplish them all because he
You're
had a
right.
lot of resistance from people in government and in the media and in the courts,
Yep.
but he tried like heck to do everything he had said he was going to try and do in the
Hmm.
campaign. And he did a lot of them,
Yeah.
got a lot of
Yeah.
them done to great effect. Whether you liked them or not is irrelevant. He did what he said he was going to do to the best of his ability. And, short of COVID coming by and blowing up
Mm.
everything, who knows where he would have went in the 2020 election. Well, now we have again. He made a lot of promises during the campaign of things he's going to do, and he is trying to put into place the people that he feels will help him do that effectively. And to be honest with you, and some people who don't like Trump are going to cringe when I say this, but he is doing it in a way that's fairly statesmanlike, especially for
Yeah.
President Trump. I mean,
He is.
he's been pretty
Yeah.
reasonable, and he's thrown a few daggers out
Yeah.
there, but not as many as he
No.
normally does. And a lot of people have said, well, yeah, the experience of almost getting killed in the assassination attempt, that tends to sober anybody and realize no matter how good we think we are, that we are mortal, and that can be a very positive effect on most of us. So
Mm.
maybe that's part of it. He has made comments about his faith and things
Mhm.
that he sees a little differently than he saw before. Uh, he's doing it well, and so
Yeah.
he's continuing to win people over, which is good. That's what you want
Sure,
going into a
sure.
presidency, rather than everybody's hair on fire, they're trying to ruin you. They're at least saying, okay, let's give this guy a shot, let's see what he does with it if we don't get in his way, and maybe we'll have a better start than we did from the 2016 election results, where everybody was determined to stop him at all costs. Now you
Mm.
still got Gavin Newsom, most of the Northeast governors that are all, oh my gosh, we've got to stop him. We're going to resist. Yeah, well, there is a thing called laws, guys, that you do have to follow, and he is the president. So nice,
You
nice for
know,
your opinion. I don't think you're going to do that when the U.S. Marshals come up to your door and say, Governor, I'm really sorry, but you need to come with us.
I hope that happens. I can't wait. I was watching an unhinged Chris Murphy last night. He's our senator here from Connecticut, and I apologize to the rest of the country for that. And he's like making it sound like Trump's doing something that no other president has ever done. He's putting people in office that support his positions. Well, what do you think he's supposed to do? This was his big mistake, and he admits it in 16. He didn't know the lay of the land in 16. He was taking advice from advisors who, quite frankly, were steering him in the wrong direction. Now he knows how the game is played. He understands it. He's going in there and he's putting people in there who think like Trump think. I mean, how would you not do that? I don't understand.
It's, the only president of any stature that did not do that was Abraham Lincoln,
Mm,
who, he is renowned for having this cabinet of adversaries. Uh, but he had to do that because of the political coalition he had
right.
put together to get elected. Uh, his own party was very diverse in its opinions. So he had to bring in a lot of people who were, had been his opponents in the campaign. Uh, Trump doesn't have to do that. That is not the norm. The norm is doing exactly what Trump is doing. You find your advocates. Remember the Attorney General under President Obama, who
Mm.
described his job as, my job is to be Barack's wingman.
No, that's
No,
pretty
it's not.
accurate.
It's
Right?
it's this, your job is to be the head law enforcement official in the United States of America. That's one that you could say, can go either way. But what Trump is doing is anything but unprecedented. It is perfectly normal. Stop the pearl clutching and the swooning on
Yeah,
the
yeah.
Democrat side, and just do your job, legislators.
But as I say, in terms of who he's appointing, he's not going to appoint people who are diametrically opposed to what he believes. He's not going to. And if there's a question about a certain law, he's going to want someone to side with his interpretation. I mean, obviously, law is law, but I mean, there's a lot of gray areas sometimes. He's going to want people that are going to have his worldview as opposed to somebody else's worldview. And he's doing that. He's doing that with already talking to world leaders. But the thing that's amazing, we're only 3.5 weeks outside the election. We're 6 weeks away from inauguration, and he's already got a higher approval rating than at any time he was president.
Yeah,
It's
well, and
unbelievable.
and and I think a lot of it is, one, the realization that it's not just, the ignorant people with no teeth or anything that voted for him. There's lots of us with degrees, with experience, that have voted for him. We haven't drunk any Kool-Aid. We just look at his policies and say the policies he's promoting are the right ones for the country. And then you add to it, as we said, he's post election, he's been pretty darn reasonable. And there's a couple of cabinet picks that were a little surprising, but when you think that Trump is telling people, I want to disrupt the system is broken right now in a lot of
Mhm.
ways, and we've got to fix it. The only way to do that is not to bring in someone who's completely sheep dipped in the system, but somebody who is
Yeah,
outside the system, capable, competent people who can reach in and make changes. And I think he's putting together a team that's doing that. Matt Getz dropped off, and no offense to Mr. Getz, but I think Pam Bondi's a much better choice.
I do too. I do
I
too.
mean,
Yeah,
she's got the chops. She's a
yeah.
strong, strong woman. Uh, you know, some of the other folks, Cash Patel, the Vivek Ramaswamy,
Yeah,
and Elon Musk together. I mean, he's got a pretty diverse cabinet
he does.
already.
He does, and it was so funny because who was it? It was Cuban who said that Trump's afraid of having strong women around him. And I saw a montage of all the women he's put into positions and nominated. I mean, it's quite a crew. I mean, I don't see any weaklings among any of the group that he has. I'm so happy. I don't know because she doesn't really have the experience, but I like her, Christy Nome, the South Dakota governor, as Secretary of Homeland Security. I think that all has to get pared back. I think Homeland's gotten too big. And I
It's
understand the response after 9/11. I don't criticize anybody for that, but I just feel like it's gotten to a point where, and under Mayorkas, there's just no control. There's been no oversight. I think it needs to get pared back a little bit. And I hope she does a great job, but I like her. And she's a strong woman. Obviously, she's a governor, right? So it just good picks. But I made a point earlier. You can tell if Trump's making good picks by the amount of resistance and mind blowing episodes coming from Democrats. If Trump picked people and Democrats are going, oh, I like them, I think they're good. It's the wrong person. It's the wrong thing.
exactly.
Um, hey, something happened a week ago today, Steve. We're talking with Steve Bucci, Heritage Foundation. And I know this is probably semi regular. I don't know how often it happens. You'll have a better read on this. But last Monday, there was a pair of, and that's a whole nother conversation. There was a pair of B 52 Stratofortresses flying over the Baltic Sea, and they were intercepted by two Su 27 Russian fighters. Now, I'm thinking oh, the Baltic Sea is pretty much either neutral, international, or NATO controlled area, right? So why would they do that? Why would they feel like they need to intercept and accompany these B 52 bombers?
This is typical stuff. This has been going on since the Cold War started with the
Yeah,
Soviet Union and has never stopped, even with the collapse of the Soviet Union and Russia essentially taking its place. You know, we go anywhere near their airspace, not in their airspace, but near it, and they respond. They come anywhere near our space and we respond. And these things
yeah,
happen not every day, but with a lot of regularity. Most of the time, everybody behaves. They
yep,
fly up near each other, but not dangerously close. And everybody, they trade radio things, and then everybody goes their way.
yeah,
Every once in a while, somebody does something silly. The Chinese shooting down the KLA
yeah.
airliner
Airliner,
back
sure,
a couple
yeah,
of decades ago.
gosh, that's
That
crazy.
kind of stuff. It's like what? What are you crazy? So everybody normally behaves, but it's normal muscle flexing. It's the same
Hmm.
reason we do uh, um, uh, freedom of navigation ship sailings where we go through disputed areas or close to disputed areas so that the other side knows no, we don't accept your definition of this. We've got our own and we're willing to stand up to it. And
Mm,
it happens all the time. So that's one you watch, you make sure the young pilots are doing what they're supposed to do and nobody's getting stupid. But it's very normal, nothing to get worried about, not even something really
yeah.
that
Okay.
newsworthy
Okay.
unless there's
All
a
right.
space in the paper and they decide they got to fill it.
Open block. I mean, I think it's more newsworthy to consider the length of service of the B 52 Stratofortress. That plane's been around for what? Since was it designed in like the 50s?
Oh, it was
Yeah.
flying in the 50s.
Flying in the 50s.
Some of those airplanes are older than I am, Pastor.
Really?
Yeah,
Wow.
and I was born in 1955. So a lot of them were built. They've had product improvements and everything, but it's still a good airplane with the improvements. It's still
Yeah.
safe to fly. It hits its target every time, which used to be the Earth. But now with precision munitions, you can use a B 52 flying so high you can't see it or hear it,
Yeah.
and you can hit a pinpoint tactical close air support kind of target with guided munitions. So it's going to be around for a while because nothing we have can carry as much ordnance
I was
as
gonna
that
say,
aircraft.
has the value of the airframe changed? Well, I always thought it was payload capacity. That's why it was so valuable. But is it also its ability to fly at super high altitude, or is it both?
Both, but
Yeah.
it flies so high that unless you have interceptor aircraft like the Russia does or China does, you're not going to fly up there to challenge it. Most of the missile technology that's out there can't reach it.
Okay.
So
All right.
it's not flying like an SR-71 or a U-2
Right. Right.
where it's up in the stratosphere,
But you're
but
not surface to air missiles typically are not going to be able to take out a B-52 that high.
not what most countries have. No.
Okay. Wow. Okay. Wow. Okay. Wonderful. Well, let's see. We'll talk next week. It'll be after the game. Hopefully, it'll be a cheerful Army response.
If not, I will be gracious in defeat if we lose
Okay.
because
All right.
look, all those kids that are playing, remember these are college kids. That's
Yeah.
they're not, army officers and navy
Right.
officers. They're
Right. Right.
cadets and
You're still
midshipmen.
in school. Sure.
All of those young people are going to be fighting the nation's wars together in the future.
Hmm.
This competition is something they go hard at each other, but afterwards they understand they're brothers and sisters in
Same
arms,
team. Hmm.
and that's a good thing for the United States of America. And
Sure
every
is.
once in a while, the Air Force wins the President's Trophy, but not that often.
So when you were at the point, how was Army winning then, or was Army losing when you were at West Point?
No, I never as a cadet saw Army win an Army Navy game. We lost all four of ours. I also was at West Point the same 4 years as Tony Dorsett was at Pitt.
Really?
And so I got to see
Wow.
him play four times, and every game was like watching Tony run wind sprints up the field
Oh boy, he
around all
was
the Army players. He was unbelievable. So
he
yeah,
was a thing of beauty to watch. Boy, all those cowboy years. Wow, that's impressive. That's cool. I didn't realize that. Hey, Steve, thank you so much, and appreciate your time as always. And we'll have a post Army Navy game talk next Monday. Thank you so much.
sounds good, Pastor. Take care and have a great week.
Okay, God bless you. All right. Hey, that's it. We're out of time. We're gonna go. And again, the question I ask you to consider, and you can give us this tomorrow, is do you think 4 o'clock would be a reasonable time for us to change the program to? Again, we're getting a lot of input. We're not making a decision right now, but we're starting the process. And really, of course, obviously, you matter because you watch the show. And I want to do what's best. I obviously can't do what's best for everybody. I want to see if it does the best for most people, and does it help us with our ultimate goal of increasing the audience and building the outreach of the show. So we'll see. So we'll talk a little bit more about it tomorrow. Hey, At, thanks so much. LJ, thank you. God bless you guys. Have a great rest of your day. I love you. See you tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock.